Hi, I'm Sam, your resident fantasy reader.
And I'm Morgan, your romance reader, and we welcome you to Just One More Page,
where it's never just one more page.
I just want to say right now that we're definitely professional.
Oh, 100%.
We're 100% professional.
We're 3 years in. We are full professionals at this.
It's not because of the fact that we just pressed record and I was like, wait, is this actually recording?
The lines aren't moving.
We're very confused. Also, if you guys are confused too, you're confused, I'm confused.
We're all confused.
We're all confused. Me and Sam are here in person recording this episode.
Yay!
Woo! And we felt like it's only good to do this since like the first time we recorded this book, if you don't know, this is part of a series. The first book we recorded was together.
Yeah.
We had a fun time that weekend too, didn't we?
It was a fun time.
We went book shopping. Was that the weekend where like one of our TikToks went super viral?
One of our TikToks went super viral. And then I think, was that the same week we also were on another podcast too? Or another podcast came onto our thing?
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of times when we are recording with a special guest, we try our best to be in the same room together.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of lined up that with this series and special guests that come on this podcast, they tend to line up with each other and we end up in the same room.
We don't know why, but it happens. And then we have to go book shopping.
Of course.
Listen, I just want to say right now, a funny thing that happened is that we went to Barnes & Noble, because of course we did. We spent some time yesterday, some podcast work stuff to figure out. And then afterwards, I was like, if you want to go to Barnes & Noble, we can like totally do that. And Sam turns and looks at me and be like, of course we're going to Barnes & Noble. We're shopping. We're in the romance section. I'm like deciding what books to get.
Oh my God.
And this lady walks in and turns and she looks at Sam and she goes, do you
read a lot of romance novels? No, I want to preface this with Morgan and I were actively talking about books.
Yes,
we were actively talking about everything that was in there.
Telling Sam, oh, this book, Five Guys, is about her doing it with five guys. Like, that was the kind of conversation we were having. I was like, yeah, you see that book right there? Yeah, he does it with a candy cane. I just want to let you guys know that was the conversation. It wasn't like, this is a good book. It was like me being like, Sam, guess what happens in this book?
So she's like, do you guys read a lot of romance? She said specifically to me, do you read a lot of romance? And I was like, yeah, I've read quite a bit. So she was trying to find a book for her friend. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, what is she into? And she's like, she likes sex.
Like, okay.
She's like, she likes books about sex. And I was like, and she like enunciated it. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is where we're going. Okay. So then my brain, of course, like can't remember a single book that I have read ever in the entirety of the world. And I've read hundreds of books. And I couldn't think of any like recommendations. So I'm staring at the shelf in a panic, like, what should I recommend this woman? She goes, oh, my friend is married to a woman. Is that going to matter? And I was like, no, but I haven't read a lot of LGBTQ. Morgan, come over here.
Why? I was like, I think the look I gave Sam was like, why are you doing this to me?
Listen, I needed moral support. You were inching away from me.
I was trying to run away. I don't know why, but whenever me and Sam, we go to the bookstore together, we always get stopped by multiple people because we talk about books, but we always get stopped by multiple people being like, hey, my daughter is just getting into reading. What books do you recommend? And it's great. I'm so introverted. And I also, every book I've ever read has left my brain.
Yeah, gone.
So she goes, is there a book? And I was like, I don't remember anything.
So I just went The Court of Vampires by Katie Robert. And I haven't even read it, but I know a lot about what's like inside the book because I've been spoiled. I was like, this one. And then I proceed to pick up like the most special edition. So who knows if that book was like $45.
It's probably $30.
And I was like, here, take this one. And she goes, yeah. I was like, yes. And she walked away and I was like, please, Lord, let that be a good book for her friend.
But watch her, she get back to her friends. Her friend's like, I never said I liked dick. I liked, she's like, I was telling you I didn't like it.
Yeah, that would be funny.
Well, if you're listening to this and your friend gave you a book that some random girls told you to read, it's us and we're sorry. We apologize.
All I can say is that I don't live in this area. The chances of me running back into that woman are very minimal. So,
Listen, I'm pretty sure I was sneaking away, so it's not my fault. Listen, y'all, we are here because we're going to be talking about the second half of The Shadow Rules All by Abigail Owens. And if you haven't checked out the series, then obviously you should, because as a romance reader, I recommend this book 100%, even though it is a fantasy book. Now, if you guys are curious, last week we did review the first half of this book in which we read up to chapter 39. Mm-hmm. And so this episode, we're just kind of going to the second half of the book. So I do want to say that we have read the other 2 books in the series, which was The Liar's Crown, which you can find on episode 35, and the other episode is 70, where we review The Stolen Throne. Now, I do want to mention that on episode 35, for some reason, Spotify has taken away some of our episodes. Don't know why, but you can definitely find it on YouTube if you're looking for that, if you want to find like the first episode. So if you haven't read the other books, this description might be a spoiler, so please just keep this in mind, okay? So in this book, King Eidolon has taken everything from Mar, her throne, and even her kingdom. To make matters worse, the shadows who once tormented Reven is now living within her. They're hissing and trying to convince her to betray her friends. To make matters worse, without Reven, she's struggling with the shadows, because without him, there is no light. And the alignment is almost upon them, the culmination of centuries that has fueled a vengeful king's rage. They are outnumbered, and even if they can unleash the trapped goddesses, they would destroy the kingdom and everything in it. Once again, this is the second half of the review. If you have not checked out the first half, then definitely go do so and then come back and listen to us talk about it. So now that we have finished the series, Sam, what is your review of this in a non-spoiler way, of course, and your rating of the book and also of the series?
I don't hand these out very often. I'm giving it 5 stars.
Woo!
I'm giving it 5 full stars. This book destroyed me
Mm-hmm.
in every single way humanly possible. I have to say, like, as a whole, I feel like this was a very well-rounded out series. I feel like the beginning to the end, everything served a purpose. All the loose ends from the beginning have all pretty much been tied up at the end, and we have a really, really good happily ever after.
Yeah.
And it's a romance book, so if you aren't expecting a happily ever after, have you ever read a romance book? Like, this is not a tragedy. I loved this book, but at the same time, those last maybe 50 to 100 pages just took my heart and just shredded it to pieces, and I will never be the same, but it was so good.
I really, really liked it too. I definitely rated 5 stars because I feel like this book has a special place in our heart, not because of the fact that this is a book that we both like, fantasy book that we both loved, but also because of what's going to be happening in the future. I loved it, and I love the romance in it, and I think that Abigail does such a great job at writing romance and also writing a believable romance. Now, did this book make me want to like throw my phone because I was listening to it? Yes, many times. Am I regretting what I said last podcast episode about a character? A little bit, just a tad, just a little bit. But I really, really did love it, and I really think that if you like romance, then you should definitely check it out. The only thing I will say is that, and I think this is mostly on me because I can't do fantasy. Like, I know a lot of people love fantasy, but the world building was fantastic. I'm not going to put that against like anyone.
Yeah.
Like, the world building was great. The magical system, great. But for me personally, I just kind of felt lost because I couldn't remember certain things. I was like, who are you? What goddess are you? And I think that's mostly because I'm used to reading like a non-fantasy book. So if you are just a romance reader, this might take you a little time to finish, just because you definitely will have to pay attention to what's happening. You can't just pay attention to the spicy parts, okay?
Well, I feel like, at least with like the first book and everything, Abigail lays out this world really nicely.
Yeah.
And there are some books, some fantasy books, where like the world is just layered and layered and layered and layered. As far as the expanse of the world, it's big, but it's also very contained. You only have 5 or 6 areas these people are from. There's not a whole lot of like extra people kind of floating around. You have the wanderers and the Zerevs and the Zerophates, and then you have like people who are in the dominions and the kings and queens, and that's pretty much it. That's all you're hanging out with. There's not like all these like extra political intrigue things going on. Magic system's fairly simple. Like, everyone has 1 power, but if you have 2, then this will happen, and then it kind of just goes on from there, and then it just becomes character development and the storyline. And now that all 3 are out, I feel like if you read the books back to back to back, things would make a little more sense than reading it and then waiting a year and then reading and then waiting a year and then reading.
Once again, this is why I want to start a petition about how I think writers should do a "this is what happened last time" page.
Previously in this book.
Because listen, I am the type of person where when Sam read a series, I usually try to read the book prior.
Yeah.
I just didn't have time to do this year just due to other things that were happening. So I was very much of like, I'm trying to pick apart my brain. Like, I couldn't remember who Cain was in the beginning. I was like, who is this man? Who is this man? And then I remember, I was like, oh yeah. Well, I re-listened to our prior episode, and we were like, he's a simp. I was like, oh yeah, I remember.
I remember this man.
Okay, so listen, we're going to go into our spoiler section. If you've yet to read this book, then go do so. Go read the series. Go check it out. Go check out our other podcast podcast episode, and we are going to be discussing, spoilering
The
the
whole crap
book,
out of this book.
the whole book. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's start.
Boom. Okay, I don't even know where to begin. Let's talk about Cain.
Okay, listen, I take it back that I called him a simp. I take it back that I literally was like, Cain, go away. Because when he died, like, you think I would be smart enough to be like, oh, it makes sense that he's going to die. When he died, I remember what I was doing. I was listening to it as an audiobook, and I had my headphones in, and I was cleaning. And when he died, I literally grabbed this sponge, and I was squeezing it so hard, and I was staring in the mirror being like, what? I don't know about you, but I just did not see it coming.
Well, okay, so Cain was like finally kinged. Basically, he was marked as the Seraph. I was like, okay, we're gonna hang out for a little while. Like ultimately, when we were in like the major battle, like the final battle of the book, and Lyra, I was talking about something else. Marin.
Lyra.
We were talking about Game Scott's play, like just shy.
Okay, listen.
Marin.
Listen. That is kind of like when the guy's with a girl and the girl accidentally calls out the wrong guy's name. You cheating on this book?
Yes, I am. Marin and Cain are fighting, and she's talking about how natural it feels and how it feels like they were kids again and playing in the sand and learning how to fight and how good it felt and how in sync they were. And then he dies, and I was like, what the heck? And of course he dies about the exact same time as, because when I was finishing the very first book, Lyra's Crown, and Reven was Marin was like having to decide if she was going to basically like R.I.P. Reven at that point. And I was like, Reven! Well then, same area, driving to your house, and I'm like, Cain! Listen, broke my heart into a billion pieces.
They just want you to crash the car.
He was never meant to be the main love interest, but they had such a good friendship and they had such a connection. I mean, they'd known each other for years. They were childhood best friends. And then for her to just be like, this feels so good and we're so in sync and we're doing all these things and it's like we're kids again and this is amazing and it's
you shouldn't know. We shouldn't know.
Yeah, it was reminiscing back to like a time before everything changed, and then he dies.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Cain.
Well, I guess Abigail said no love triangles.
No love
triangles.
We are just gonna slash that from the beginning.
Let's talk about Horace.
Horace.
Now listen, I got so excited when he showed up to save the day. So when he showed up, I was like, oh yeah, Horace is back. And then towards the end of the book, I'm like, oh no.
Oh no. Not Horace too.
Were you surprised when Horace died?
No, I'm not. I'm sad about it, but I'm not shocked he died.
I wish he didn't die.
Yeah.
But the one death that really got me was the blue girl.
Sai.
Because I wanted her and Voss to get together.
Yeah?
Yeah. I know you were like, oh, Voss is older, but in my head, Voss is like younger and him and Saya had like a relationship.
Mm-hmm. You know, at the moment that she was dying and Voss was missing his one arm, was next to her and Marin's like, it makes sense. He wouldn't let Sai die alone. I'm going to cry just thinking about this. He wouldn't let Sai die alone. And I'm just like,
stop crying, Sam!
Oh my god, books have never made me cry before, but I'm just like, oh
no, it's because she is so innocent.
I know.
Sam, stop crying. It's because she's so innocent, and like everyone's just like, yeah, I can see Cain dying because that love triangle's over. I can see Horace dying because that's like a father figure, and father figures always flip and die in books. When Sai died, it's like she was innocent.
In referencing to like another series that we read a long time ago when we were kids, for the author that shall not be named, when she killed off the owl, it was kind of like killing off a level of innocence. It's like it's taking away that like innocent piece of the characters, and it was like, because Sai didn't deserve to die, and I loved that the Wanderers kind of like buried her because she has such a connection with everybody and they respected her so much, and I don't feel like that was a deserved death, and that sucked. But that kind of shows the casualties of war.
Yeah, that even you can be the purest person in the world, but you're at war, and
and there's going to be victims, but it just sucks. It just sucks so bad.
I want to reread this book series because I'm pretty sure I honestly thought that Voss and Saya had a relationship. Was it a father-daughter relationship or was it romantic? Because I
need to go back.
Because I need to know if I'm crossing any lines by saying, oh, I really want them together. When they're like, so it's like, Morgan, he's in his 60s and she's literally like 15. I'd be like, oh, no.
She's back with her parents. And I felt bad when they were like in the mountains and everything, and the mountains were red. They made a comment about how she couldn't tell if her parents were bleeding or not because of how red the mountains are. I mean, like at the end, because this book has already established that there is an afterlife. that you will meet your family and your bonded bonded mate after death. She's back with her parents, and I think that kind of gives you a little bit of peace of mind.
Yeah. Well, I will say the one character that we can be happy about, Benny.
Benny
came out. Benny survived.
Benny survived. Thank God.
Benny popped out of nowhere. Benny's like, "Hey, I'm here to fight." It was Benny. I was like, "Oh, Sam's gonna be happy."
They're like, Benny got swallowed, and I'm like, no, not Benny. But he's alive now, so we're fine. We're good with that.
Yeah.
And then Tindra's dead. Yeah. The goddess Tindra, but all the other goddesses have been released, and nothing really bad happened.
Yeah, they were like, oh, "Listen, like, do you want to fight?" And they're like, "Actually, no."
They're like, "We're free, and we're bye.
Let me take my lovers and
go. We're just gonna dip. Thank you."
Yeah.
So I was waiting for like a revenge plot of them being like, "Oh shit, what did we do?"
Yeah.
Like they released the goddesses and then realized that was a really bad idea, and the goddesses were just like, "We're free." And then they blinked out. And they're
like, I mean, honestly, I would have done the same thing. You trapped me for, I don't know, over how many years. I'm going to leave. I'm going to be running.
Yeah.
I'm going to be running like none other. Yeah, I love this book. I thought it was really good. I'm really sad it's over, though.
I'm sad it's over, too. I think this was like a series that we always look forward to reading.
Yes.
And it's kind of encompassed a lot of this podcast because we've talked a lot about this author, but I think we're going to continue talking about her Games Gods Play the Crucible series. Yeah. We're still hanging out with this writer, but this series is done. It has been wrapped up into a nice, neat little bow, and there's no theories we can talk about. No. It's done. Yeah. It's just done, and that's crazy.
Although I will say that I thought it was when she was like in the epilogue where she was like, "This is where Cain saw me, and this is where Reven took me," and kind of like that relationship. Yeah, like her kind of reminiscing was kind of nice to think about like how it started.
It was a nice like call back to the beginning of the series when she was going through the castle and she was gonna go, because wasn't she supposed to like stand in for like her sister's coronation or something? And so it was a nice callback to that moment. Again, she never makes it to the ballroom because Reven takes her away. It was like, but it was like in a good way this time. He wasn't kidnapping her. He was like, "You are mine and we're gonna go." And I'm like, oh, I love it. I also love too that Tabra and her mate, they bonded just before the war and stuff, because she was like, was it Oculus? Oculus. When Oculus was like, "I'll find you in the next life," her sister Tabra's like, "Yeah, we did the bonding ritual last night," and I was just like, oh, I'm so happy for them.
And then they both lived. So
which is good. Which is good. But I appreciate that Oculus was willing to just like lay down her life for Tabra, knowing that they would find each other again.
Yeah, I want a storyline, a love story between her and Tabra.
Yeah,
like I want
a novella.
I want a novella, please. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. But I don't know. I love this book. I love this series. I feel like Abigail did such a good job. And I can't wait for the second book in the Games God Play.
Yeah.
But we're also very excited because next week Abigail's going to be on this podcast. Oh my God. Actually, you guys don't know this because this is pre-recorded, but Abigail's going to be on the we're going to record with her later tonight.
Yeah.
And we're both freaking out. I just want everyone to know how much me and Sam are like wanting to scream and run around the room. I
feel like it's twofold. Number one, we have come to really respect this author.
Yes.
And she's been one that like she was like one of the first people who's actually interacted with this podcast of an author that we have read that has actually interacted with us through TikTok and through Instagram and through all of it. I don't feel like we know her, but I feel like she's aware of who we are, and that's insane to us. And we've always talked about, well, maybe someday she'll come on the podcast. Maybe someday this will happen. But it was like, oh, that's just a fantasy. Honestly, we didn't think this podcast was going to get past 1 full year.
Yeah.
We're now finishing our 3rd year. And at the end of our 3rd year, we now have her coming on the podcast. And I feel like it's both a fangirl moment, but it's also a pride moment to see how much we've grown and how well we've done. It's just a culmination of a lot of things that have been going on. And now tonight, like, it almost feels like we're like quote unquote real podcasters. I guess, doesn't it? Because like we don't make any money off of this. We do this fully out of love.
Hobby.
It is very much a hobby, but it is a hobby that has like taken on a life of its own, and it's so cool.
Yeah, and so we're really excited about her coming on. Sorry, I just want to add that in. But is there anything else you want to add about the book or that you want to talk about?
I'm probably going to reread this series. It's going to be one of those series that I highly recommend to every single person who's like, I want to read a fantasy romance book. I'm probably just going to be like, here, take this whole series and read it. It's completed.
I honestly think that, and I'm going to just say this, I think that her books are so underrated.
Me too.
I think they're so good. I think that I honestly think that people are going to catch on about how good of a writer she is.
Yeah.
And that she's going to be.
I feel like she's going to be the next Sarah J. Maas.
I
As
think
far
so
as
too.
like the cult level of reading, like I feel like she'll be the next Sarah J. Maas.
I think so too.
Once it picks up steam, because even A Court of Thorns and Roses and then ACOTAR for Sarah J. Maas came out in like 2010, 2013, and now here we are in 2024 and she's just blown up. I feel like that's going to happen to Abigail's books. It may take a little while, but people are going to catch on and they're going to just devour them. And I'm so excited to see that
I'm excited too, and I'm excited that, you know, we're able to talk to her before she gets too famous.
I know, right?
But yeah, I don't have anything else to add about this book besides the fact that I absolutely loved it, and that I love the fact that Benny was alive, and R.I.P. Kane. Sorry, we got a little emotional there.
I'm glad too that Reven got his memories back.
Yeah.
But like he was like, you know, even if I don't get them, I'm still gonna fall in love with you. Yeah. And then their bond healed, and that was the greatest thing.
So the one twist I did not see coming was when he had the shadow. Eidolon's shadow. I did not.
Yeah, and he was like, smart girl, and I was like, oh man,
that was a twist I did not see coming. That surprised me. I was like, wait a minute, what happened? Yeah, so that was a good twist.
But overall, fantastic 5-star series. Loved it. Had a great time. Sad it's over. Oh my gosh,
definitely 5 stars for me too. So if you guys are curious, next week we're gonna be interviewing Abigail Owens.
Yay!
Woo! So you definitely check out that episode. We're gonna be talking about, obviously, the series, the mini series. We're also going to talk a little bit about the games God play. Maybe we can be like, hey, please tell us what the title name is. Please give it to us. We might bleep it out, but, you know, at least tell us. But anyways, definitely check out next week's episode. If you guys like this podcast and want to support us, please remember to rate us on Spotify, as it does help push our podcast out there. Also remember to check out us anywhere else you can find a podcast, such as obviously Spotify, Apple, and even Audible has a podcast. But also remember that we also do have a YouTube channel, which is called Just More Page. Even though we don't post very often on there, maybe we will if TikTok gets banned.
Yeah.
But anyway, Sam, tell them about the rest of our socials.
So if you think we are absolutely hilarious, which fun fact, my friends, we do have a TikTok. It is Just More Page Podcast. And for all the pictures, stories, anything else we decide to post, we do have an Instagram. It is Just More Page Official. So go check us out on there. We're also now on Blue Sky as Just More Page Official, I believe, as well. Yes?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yes.
I'm over zoning out. Like, what?
Yeah. So we're now on Blue Sky, which is like the new Twitter. So go check us out on there. Come follow us. Come slide into our DMs. We love talking to you all. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will talk to you all soon.
Okay, bye. Bye. I don't know why I waved.
You waved to me.
I waved to you. Bye, Sam.
Bye.